Hello, guys. Good morning, and thanks for joining on a Sunday morning. Firstly, Happy New Year to each and everyone, and thanks for taking the time out to join this webinar. So, in today's webinar, we will mostly be discussing about the sentiment indicators. And Chavan had asked me like which webinar should we keep this week, and I thought that sentiment indicators will be a very important one. That is because right now we are at a very crucial juncture in terms of sentiment indicators. And this can be a good turning point as well on either side, I mean up or down. So that's where I thought that doing a webinar on sentiment indicators will be important. So this time around we will not be getting much into the theory part, and it will be more of a practical part where how do we actually analyze the sentiment indicators, and how do we actually form a view, and with that view how does it eventually lead to execution. So that is what we would be highlighting in this webinar. Now one sorry, excuse me. So one important thing that the people should take a note of is that whatever we discussed today is basically not a recommendation, and those are my personal views looking at the indicators for a long time. So I have observed certain behaviors in those indicators in certain phases of the market. So those all nuances will be the thing that we'll be covering today. Okay. And sorry, Jaspal Singh, I mean, this time around it will be in English. Okay, maybe sometime we will take it an exclusive Hindi webinar, but this time around it would be a English one. So yeah, I mean, with that, let me not waste time and present my screen. If at all you all can see my screen, then please comment saying that you all can see my screen. Okay. I hope you all are able to see my screen. If yes, then please put a comment so that I can proceed. Okay, I think the screen is visible. So yes, we will. As I told you, we'll discuss about the sentiment indicators, and we'll touch upon diffusion indicator as well, wherever it is necessary. But as I had mentioned earlier as well, right, that there are three types of trends in the market. One is short term, one is medium term, and one is long term. Okay. So I had discussed many times in the previous webinars as well that there are certain indicators that you need to look out for short term. There are certain indicators that you need to look out for medium term, and then there are certain indicators in sentiment that you need to look out for from a medium term perspective. Okay. So I will just quickly highlight each of them, and you all can also make a note of it. So I have actually made a template out of that. Okay. I will also teach you how to make a template. So basically, see, if you want to make a template, okay, so this I'm just giving you an example. Say I have added over here say FII index, FII net future index. Okay. And say if I want to I mean, make this as a template, all I have to do is that go to this layout part, save indicator template, and you give it a name and you save it, and this will get saved. Okay. I mean, this is how I have saved all the sentiment indicators. So if I check the short term indicators, I'll quickly note it down over here so that it becomes easy for you to understand. It is daily swing, average swing, okay, PCR OI 9 MA, and 20-day AD ratio. Okay, these are the ones that I actually use for the short term to gauge the short term sentiment. Okay, to gauge the medium term sentiment, I use FII net index future position. So FII client net index future, then client plus FII net index future, and lastly I even use 20 for both. Actually I use it for short term as well as slightly medium term as well. They sometimes give a good indication. Okay, and lastly for long term it is DII's net index future, PCR volume 14 MA, future Y by index, and 40-day AD ratio. So, for people who don't know the theory part, please go to our YouTube channel and, check out Strike IC, Strike. So, over here, we have put a lot of webinars. Over here, if you basically search for sentiment indicators, okay? If you search over here for sentiment indicators, you will get a whole lot of videos and basically webinars that we have done, which can help you to understand each of this indicator. Also in Strike there is this section of help. Okay, over here as well, we have explained how to find the tops and bottoms using sentiment indicators, and each of the important indicators are explained over here. So you all can have a look at it and understand this. Okay, but as I told you, I mean, we have done enough of the explanation part. So today will be the time where we actually put those theory into use and try to anticipate what can happen in the market next, from a short term perspective, medium term perspective, and long term perspective. Okay, so that is what we are going to look at. So as I mentioned, I'm just taking a half a second pause for people to note this down. Okay, for short term we are using these four indicators: daily swing, average swing, PCR 9 MA, and 20-day AD ratio. For medium term, we are using FI net index future position, client net index future position, and we have also discovered this very helpful. I will explain you this as well. Where are we positioned in client plus FI net index future position? And for long term, basically, where you try to understand whether in the long term there is fraud that is building, and where can we anticipate a medium to long term bottom. So for that, you have to use DII net index future position, PCR volume 14 MA, which is basically smoothened by the 40-day moving average, then future Y by index, and lastly the 40-day AD ratio. Okay, so yes, so with that we will move to the short term. Okay, so see, in the short term, as you can see that the swing was very much oversold at this point of time. Okay, so let me take a bar graph. So you can see over here at around somewhere around this point. Okay, that's where the swing was very oversold. And we had also mentioned this in the daily videos that Zubin is making. And in fact, even I was there in one of the videos. So we had mentioned this similar thing, that the sentiments are very much oversold right now. So there can be a short term bounce that can be expected. Okay, and after that maybe we might resume the downtrend. So see, one thing that people need to understand is that uh, this sentiment indicators. Okay, I'll write it over here. Always use sentiment indicator plus the price action. Okay, it is not that ke sentiment has got oversold to chalo kal ut ke hi buy kar lo. Okay, but that's where if the sentiment indicators are oversold, that's where you will probably position size yourself ke yahan pe thoda le liya, and then on a confirmation you buy the rest. So that is how typically one needs to approach. Okay, so at this point of time, given that the sentiment was oversold, so it honestly did not make sense to short it right away, but probably wait for a pullback. That is because broadly what we can see is that over here we were making this higher tops and higher bottoms, right? But now suddenly we have started making lower high, I mean lower low, lower high. So within this decline as well, there were series of lower top, lower bottom that was forming, and after that, we have got a meaningful pullback, which if you do a Fibonacci retracement, halted around the 50% retracement level mark. Okay, which was around this 24,800 mark. So, with this happening, uh, this can be a sign of weakness, because of 50% pe ruk gaya, and now it is threatening to break this low. uh, so as I mentioned, short term mein, things were looking very oversold after we fell almost around 1,000 point in 4 days. So some pullback or retracement was due, which happened over here. So Nifty in the short term had made a gap in this zone, right? So what has happened is that this gap got filled, and in fact when you put moving average, which is 40, is what we use very frequently. So if I do the setting and if I do it at 40, so this is where the level was coming to. Okay, which means gap area plus the 40. And when we are in a downtrend, and I mean when important resistance levels come, I mean are all at a same point, so that's where you take a note, and you need to be a cautious, you need to be a little cautious around that point, especially when your short term indicators are also pointing out towards overbought zone. So this was one of the thing that I was watching. In fact, there is one more indicator that we haven't discussed very often, but that is extremely helpful to catch extremely short term tops and bottoms. Okay, so wait, let me just minimize few of them which are relevant for extreme short term. So now this is the new template that I have actually formed, which you can see over here as extreme short term setups. Okay, in that, nothing but I have added call minus put histogram. So if you see the behavior of this, so wait, let me also uh, minimize the swing. So this, if you notice earlier, okay, it used to go in red, and it used to sustain in red for a very long time. Okay, so I'll explain you what it is. Okay, it is nothing but it is basically the call contracts which are there, that is minus the put. Okay, so this we look at it from a seller's perspective. Okay, if you see such a high reading, okay, like we saw it over here, okay, it tells you that a lot of call options are open at this point of time. And because we are looking at from a seller's perspective, what we believe is that this can be an important point where either max of the selling could be done, or we could be near the bottom in the extreme short term, like you see over here. Okay, this was this yen carry trade decline that happened. So yahan pe bhi this call minus put had reached an extreme, and after that we ended up forming an extreme short term bottom. Same is the case over here. Same is the case, in this case, there was a bit of a divergence that was observed, but after that we got this sideways correction. So that is how it usually plays out every time. Okay, even on this election day low, this call minus put histogram was extremely high. So this is what happened over here. And especially post the 2021, what we have observed is that the moment this histogram comes to the red point, okay, which means that the call shorters have covered their position, and now market is more positioned in put shorters favor, which means that bullish outcome is possible. So over there, we have observed that even 2-3 days of this indicator being in red leads to a short term or a meaningful top. uh, the, I mean, this is what has been observed, like you see over here. I mean, this was one case, then this was the other case, then you can see over here as well. And as I told you, ye indicator ka relevance is only from a very very short term perspective, okay, 1 to 3 days kind of. So that's why I have also named it as extreme short term setups, okay, in which I actually use this and average and daily swing. That's it. Nothing else. If the daily swing, for example, is at 80 or 80 plus level, and I see a red, then this becomes a little more convincing setup, where in the very very short term a top can occur, okay. Like, I mean, in these sort of cases, you can see that the call minus put has rapidly declined, and once this entered in red, okay, so यहाँ पे we found some selling pressure, but over here there was a lead lag. But this time around, okay, when the Nifty had come to the gap area, there was this minor red that occurred, and then there was a correction. Even over here, you can see that there was this minor red that occurred, and in a day or two, the Nifty index started correcting, and we also saw some divergence over here, okay. So now, basically, simply put, the Nifty index, if I have to see in all the context, okay, so in the short term, the Nifty index was oversold, based on the indicators that we have. So यहाँ से, this got corrected and oversold से ये overbought में आ गया. Now again, daily swing is a very fast indicator, okay. This is also relevant from a very very short term perspective, like 1 day to 5 day kind of perspective. That's it. So यहाँ पे अभी oversold condition से निकल गया. Then you saw average swing where the oversold conditions got corrected and it has bounced back. The PCR ratio, or the OIPCR, okay, which is smoothened with the 9 MA, that has also come out of the oversold zones. And if you see the 20-day average, okay, that is still around this oversold zone mark. But we have seen that this can also go to the second line, and I will explain you a bit in detail how to think about this indicator, okay. And the other thing that I mentioned was the call minus put, that has also had gotten in red, just on the day when we saw that 400-450 point kind of rebound. So this is telling me that jo in this decline, whatever was the oversold condition, that has got corrected, and with some of the indicators even coming to the overbought zone, okay. And I feel that the larger trend is still down, because one, that there was this minor head and shoulders pattern that had occurred at the top, which is typically a sign of reversal. And this can also mean a significant reversal as well from a short to medium term perspective. So that's where my personal opinion is that we have some sort of a bearish structure in the Nifty index. So the way I am looking at it is that somewhere a medium term correction has possibly started. And see, I will show you the behavior, how the daily swing behaves in a in a corrective market. So we are very used to of seeing ke daily swing agar 10 या 20 पे आता है, then the market starts rising higher. We are very accustomed to that behavior, right? Like over here also, it came to oversold and it started rising. It came to oversold over here and it started rising. But in the bear market or in a corrective market, okay, where there is a prolonged correction that is going to happen, what will happen is that it will turn oversold, okay, but there will be this 3 or 4 days of consolidation, and in this 3 or 4 days of consolidation, it will again come back towards 80 or 90, and then it will correct. The same thing you can see it uh, yeah, so same thing, you can see it over here. uh, okay, over here. And this was a slightly medium term correction, so we ended up with a divergence over here. Okay, but now again what we are doing is that we are coming back to the point where it has got a bit overbought in the short term. So if this is just a minor pullback, like these kind of pullbacks, where even Nifty index we saw over here was 23,800, and it saw bounce till 24,500 within 2 days, like a 600-700 point kind of bounce. So if we are in just this kind of pullback, then probably it should head lower. uh, okay, even if you see in the phase of this correction, okay, in this corrective phase, you can see that each time when it came to this 80 mark, it led to a short term top, and eventually we made a lower low. Okay, so that is the only significance of this. So this becomes helpful. So the whole idea is to understand what type of market are we in. Okay, once we understand what type of market are we in, then this indicators will help you a lot in managing your risk and forming a view basically. Apart from that, now the other one which I told you, average swing. So iska bhi behavior if you see, right? So you can see in a corrective phase. So see, this is one of the reason why we have given you the past data as well, for you to go and see how these indicators have behaved in different phases. So in a bull market, what happens is that कि ये जब oversold में आता है, then you again start getting a good move on the upside. So that is how it works in a bull market, right? कि छोटा correction आया, it turns oversold, and you start seeing next leg of up move. But when in a corrective phase, what happens is that initial leg of correction it will become oversold, right? But then it will keep falling, and it may not even come to the oversold till the point this correction has happened. So that's why, as I mentioned to you, you always have to look at it in conjunction of the price action. So यहाँ पे जब you got this channel breakout and so on, that's where you can say that this downtrend is possibly getting over, and maybe the Nifty index could be starting the new leg, in which case you will start then focusing more on the oversold zones. Okay, कि oversold zones आया तो buy करो, because now the trend has turned up. But when the trend is down, the inverse is true, that अगर 80 या 90 के आसपास आया, then you probably look to sell, because that's where maybe a short term pullback could be getting complete. Now this was the same thing that we had seen over here. So when this was falling, okay, so it turned oversold over here, but again there was this minor pullback, we again went down, then in this pullback we touched this 70-80 mark, and then again we fell lower. And now in this leg of decline, okay, we have again got to the oversold zone. So it is very much possible that if we fall like this, then this indicator may behave something like this, till the point where the fall becomes drastic. Say if we are in this parallel channel, okay, which I feel we are in, which is basically something like this. So that's where if you come to this lower end of the channel, and then this average swing and all come to the lower point, that's where it can be a meaningful indication that a short term or a medium term bottom could occur. Okay, the other one which I told you within the short term indicator is the PCR, right? It behaves in a very similar manner. And one of the biggest example is this. Okay, I mean, you check each of these indicators for the phase between 30th November to 31st March. Okay, even actually you see in some sort of price correlation types, this will sort of match this one. Okay, where around this September October, the peak happens and then the correction happens, which can be a bit prolonged. And and you typically see a correction till the March phase. Okay, this we have seen it many times over here as well. The correction started somewhere in October and it ended in June, but even in March somewhere we formed a very significant bottom, and we went a little lower than that. But yes, even seasonality wise, you will see that somewhere in March, a major bottom sort of occurs in the market. So over here as well, you can see that continuously it had come to this lower line and it was whipsawing. So the broader point is that if your trend is down, so there is a good chance that the indicator may be in the oversold zones only. So that's why looking at the price information becomes extremely important. And for that, we have already shared with you the trend analysis as well. Where you can follow the Rohit setup, which was discussed in detail in the RMI webinar as well. So you can go there and you can check it out. So yes, I mean, that's where this position sizing and those will come into play. But yes, that is how the short term indicators behave. Now, even if you see the 20-day, okay, so 20-day AD ratio, sorry, it is over here, the 20-day AD ratio, and you can see over here it had come to this zone where it became sort of oversold, but it sustained in this oversold zone till a long time. When we saw channel breakout, that's where the breadth started expanding. So this is where it is important to understand the trend. Okay, so I think that this is the falling channel. So unless we don't break out decisively about it and sustain, there is a good chance that there will be those minor pullbacks that we see, and we might grind lower, and in which case the indicators may behave and be somewhere in this oversold zone. Okay, now this is from the short term perspective. Now medium term is very interesting, and I think that is where, as I mentioned, we are at a very, very important point. Okay, so wait, let me first minimize this indicator and make you understand why we are at a very crucial juncture. Okay, that is because when we see this channel, we are just hovering around that channel. Okay, and if you plot the moving average, and if you do it 40 week, okay, wait, let me remove. Okay, sorry, yeah. So actually, for some reason, we have not kept weekly. That is because all the beach ka data gets eroded, and people don't understand the extreme. So that's when if you see the Nifty on the weekly chart, sorry. So if you see the Nifty on the weekly chart, so this is where we are at. I mean, this trend line support, and this is the 40 week. Okay, the blue line. So we are just hovering at that point. Now the thing is that if we break this and if we start sustaining below the 40 week, and you can see that 40 week has been holding since April. So यहाँ पे भी election day low, when we had made a low, 40 week acted as a support and we started rising higher. Over here also 40 week acted as a support and we started rising higher. But over here in both the cases, you can see that the lower band and the 40 was around the same point. Okay, it's when the band starts expanding on the downside, okay, and there is a significant distance between the 40, that's where the trend, matlab, there is a chance that a deeper correction can happen. Okay, like you see it in this point. In fact, you can go in the past as well, and you can see that whenever there is a larger gap, so that's where you're prone for a correction. But when the 40 and the lower band is quite close, that's where there is a good chance that a turnaround can happen, provided the Nifty index gives a confirmation. In fact, this, if you go even in 2004 era, there you can see that whenever the 40-day was broken, that's where you have become vulnerable for a correction. Okay, but until that was not broken, you can see that the index was taking support and rising higher. So this is where we are at. Okay, we are at a very, very crucial point. And even if you draw this channel as well, okay, so somewhere we touch the upper end of the channel and now we are falling on the downside. Okay, so I think that if this support level has to breach, where which is a coincidence of many important support levels, which is the trend line, then the 40 week, and the RMI is actually already in bearish mode. And in fact, if you see the monthly chart, there has been a bearish crossover last month, basically in this month, that got confirmed. Over here it was very close. In fact, yeah, we got a bearish crossover in November only. So in December it was a follow up, and now we are hovering at a very crucial level in weekly chart. So now if this breakdown happens, okay, now I have seen many people commenting this कि FIs are extremely short, so यहाँ पे bottom होना चाहिए. But just to give you a context, okay, this had what happened, and this we specifically remember because the oversold zones sustained for quite some time in this correction, and that's why I told you that this phase is very important to understand. So over here only, this oversold reading had come, but once again it moved higher. It could not cross the 40-day, and it again fell. Okay, so something very similar can happen over here. In fact, even in I think there was one more phase when we had seen this. Basically, it was over here only that we were there in oversold for quite some time, and only then we saw a rally. But yes, the broader point being that in the past we have seen the FI short positioning even going up to 4 lakh contract, and somewhere we are right now at around 2 lakh 30,000 contract. So ये भी जगह काफी है नीचे में, and that's where despite this what we feel like कि बहुत selling हो गया है and और कितना नीचे गिरेगा, but things can turn around very quickly, especially when the medium term supports are broken. Okay, so that's where, so this is one point that I'm watching very carefully as to what happens with the Nifty weekly closing. Okay, the moment the 40-week breaks, which is right now at 23,770, but if that breaks on the downside on a weekly closing basis, then I'll be extremely careful, and then I would start anticipating that the FI's positioning can even go to the second extreme. Okay, the other one then is the client net index position. Okay, so यहाँ पे, yes, this is giving an indication that it is already at the second line. In fact, over here also you can see that there was this client long position that came over here to an extreme, and we saw a good meaningful bounce. But now it is again coming over here, and that's where these sort of phases can occur. Okay, मतलब जहाँ पे there will be some minor pullbacks, जहाँ पे there will be some covering, and then again while the market falls, they will create long, because this is the typical behavior of client, where they will keep buying on dips and they will keep selling on rise. So that's why there is this inverse relation between the FIIs and the clients. But when both of them come to an extreme, that is the point where you need to take a note. So see, this point, FIIs didn't come to the extreme points, but client did. Okay, so yes, we got a bounce, but that was a minor one. But it is when this will come to an extreme and this will be at an extreme, so that will be the point where I will take a note that yes, I mean both of them are extremely short or long respectively. So that's where I have to be careful. Okay, the other one which gives a very very good indication, and this is more of a medium term kind of these are all medium term kind of indicators. Okay, so which is that client plus FIIs, this we have found out in 4 instances that has worked very well. So wait, let me minimize each of these. So you can see that I think in 2018 it worked very well, that FIIs plus client, when their long position reached around 2 lakh, we got a top. Over here in 2021 it's almost reached around the second line, and we got a meaningful top. Over here also in November it reached to the second line and we got top. And you notice that whenever they come to the second line, okay, that's where a major bottom can occur. Over here also there was a major bottom that occurred. Over here also there was a major bottom that occurred. And this client plus FII positioning, okay, this is somewhere right now in the middle. So it is basically when it touches the first line or the second line, and then you have this extreme positioning in FIS position as well. Sorry. Okay. So यहाँ पे भी you get an extreme positions, and यहाँ पे भी you get an extreme position. Then this becomes an even more table thumping idea that somewhere over here a medium term bottom can occur. But because right now it is in a middle, and the Nifty index is at a major point, so that's where we need to be careful. And as of now, all of this are indication, giving an indication to me, okay, specifically, that this can go down. Now you can call it a bias or something, but I have my own reasons to think about it. But as I mentioned to you, I mean, don't take this as a recommendation, but these are my personal views. And and over a period of time I am seeing this data. So with that experience, I am sort of telling you the turnaround point will basically be if this previous high gets broken on the upside. Okay, so then I think there will be a large short covering rally that can play out, which can probably even take Nifty to a much greater highs as well. But as of now, I think from a medium term perspective, until this high does not get breached on the upside, so we are possibly looking at this indicators going to the second extreme on the downside. Okay. And the last one, as I mentioned, this is 20-day. Basically what I have seen is that when a major bottom has to occur, usually there will be some divergence that will be followed, and after that, we end up getting a good bottom. Okay. यहाँ पे भी there will be some divergence that were formed, and then we got a bottom. Over here also there was divergence and we got a bottom. So that's what I would expect, that there will be some divergence on the 20, and there will be extreme positioning in the above three indicators, and that's where you are set for a good and a meaningful bottom. Now one thing that now I will tell you that why I have this a slightly bearish mindset, and that is because when I look at the long term indicators. Okay. So as I mentioned to you, in the long term indicators we have DIA positioning, PCR volume 14 MA, future OI index, and the 40-day ratio. Okay. Now when I see this, these are all slightly pointing out towards a bearish outlook. So far you have to understand that, as I told you, I mean, you always have to look sentiment indicators with price. Okay. Always use sentiment indicator with price. So if price action confirms bearish outlook, then pay attention to the long term indicators as to where are they in overall context. Okay. So what do I mean by that is that, see, over here, you would ignore when they are somewhere in the middle, but when they reach to some sort of extreme, so that's where you take a note of this. So DIIs have been a very good indicator from a medium to long term tops and bottoms. Okay. Like you can see over here in 2021. So DIIs ka behavior is different. Basically, when the market is rising higher, they keep hedging their positions on the bearish side. Okay. And when their shorts reach to minus 120 or so, that's where it gets extreme on the downside. So you can see over here at this high, they were hedging a lot, which means that they were expecting the markets to go down, and that's why they were net short meaningfully, right? So over here you saw the eventually topping happening. In fact, over here as well, you can see that before this November top occurred, there was a lot of shorting that they were doing as the market was rising higher, and we eventually got a top. Now similarly, when a lot of selling happens and they feel very confident, so in fact they leverage and go a bit net long as well. Okay. As you see over here also, you can see that they were net I mean, they were net long, and over here, basically, you had seen that the breadth was getting very bad. So, while the Nifty does not show this, but if you put breadth on the downside, okay, you can see that there was a lot of divergence that was happening, and basically, they were sort of buying the stocks. Now what has happened is that at this top, okay, their positions were on the short side, and now this is inching higher. So what I would expect is that now when I connect the dots, okay, and I see ke FIIs ka niche mein jagah baki hai for them to reach the second extreme. DII has some space that is left on the upside. Okay, if you see, yes. So basically, if that happens, so again, by behavior, you have seen that when the market declines, that's where the long position goes up. So I would expect that if the market goes down, then their long position will go up, right? And that's where if they reach an extreme, and in fact, I see the FI's positioning and all also reaching an extreme, which is basically your medium term indicators. Even they are reaching an extreme, that will be an even more table thumping kind of view that somewhere over there a medium term bottom can occur. But until those readings don't come by, you have to be very, very careful, because we are at an important support level. So basically, once the support breaks, we have typically seen that the corrections are furious on the downside, and that's where even while being oversold, you can get big declines on that day. So you need to be a little careful at that point. In fact, the PCR, the put call volume ratio, now this is very interesting, and I don't think many people would have heard about this. But over here, what we are doing is that we are calculating volume of put and volume of call. Okay, so if this ratio is at a higher level, okay, let me minimize this. So basically, if this ratio is at a higher point, it is telling you that there is a lot of panic in the market, because people are doing a lot of stuff in put option, and that is why this ratio is rising higher. But when people are complacent and they are just buying, this ratio, you will see it on the downside. So what we have observed is that when this ratio touches 0.45 level, okay, or below, that's where a long term top can occur. To people who would remember that this was the point where the mid caps actually topped out. Okay, so if I have to show the chart of Nifty mid cap, and you can see that the mid cap top had somewhere occurred in, you can see at the bottom over here, it had occurred somewhere in Jan 2018, right? You can see this indicator reaching Jan 2018 around this top level. Okay, so while Nifty में वो 5-6 stocks थे, which were very well known as Ritik stocks, those were rising higher, but the broader market was falling, and because they were falling, this ratio was rising higher because people had started doing more trades in put option. Okay, somewhere over here, I don't know, this is honestly a bit unusual, but from September 2022, what we are seeing is that a lot of activity is happening in the put for some reason. Okay, that honestly I don't know, but this is what you have seen, a massive shift basically in this graph. Okay, because even say long back, earlier as well, we never used to get these kind of readings. Even in I think even in 2008 or so, we got maximum reading of 0.75. Okay, not beyond that. But this time around, it has reached to almost around 0.81, and it is sustaining at higher levels. अभी यहाँ पे what has happened is that there is a short term range that has been formed. Basically 0.66 पे आता है, then we sort of top and we fall, like you see over here. And when it comes to 0.79 to 0.8, that's where our short to medium term bottom occurs, and we end up rising higher. So over here as well, while we see this sideways movement, but the mid cap index and all were rising higher, and that's where the breadth was expanding. Over here as well, you can see that somewhere around here, that's where it started giving that a bottom could occur. Actually, it did not go towards the upper line, but in this case, in this minor move that we saw, that's where it came to 0.66 and now it is falling. So the anticipation over here will be that it might reach towards this upper end, and you have seen that this indicator rises higher when the markets are declining, right? So that's where even this indicator is to some extent highlighting that we can get this downside. But as I mentioned to you, and I'm repeating it once again, that you have to always look at sentiments along with price action. So if this breaks on the downside and you see all these ratios inching higher, then you know that probably we are inching higher towards the extremes, some extreme. Okay. Now one indicator which specifically bothers me is this, which is future OI by index. Okay. So this, you can think of it as basically leverage in the system. If this ratio is rising higher, that means there is a lot of leverage in the system. Okay, that means log बहुत future में काम कर रहे हैं, and most of the time people have this habit of going long only, not people don't basically short aggressively. So what happens is that if the market corrects, the long positions get unwind, they get M2M, their portfolios are being sold to fund the M2M, and that's where we say that leverage does not usually end well. Okay, right now if we go by that context, there is a lot of leverage that is there in the system, and that is being shown in the FII by few. I mean, future OI by index. Now, if I have to see plainly the future open interest, okay, which keeps rising higher because the market rises higher. So this you can see is at an insane level. Okay, I mean, if you see after 2020, right, you can see that there is this big. But this, as I mentioned, in the long term, it keeps rising higher. That's where if we divide it by the index, it gives you a more range bound sort of ratio. Okay, so this you can see that in 2008, whenever it reached this 1700 mark, okay, so that's where it declined, and we saw a big long term correction. Okay, over here also in 2018, this top occurred, and as I mentioned to you, mid cap index topped out in 2018, and we saw this big 40% decline, which was eventually because of COVID as well. So now what has happened is that we have broken about it and we are sustaining about it. Now is it different this time? I don't know. But if the medium term support levels are getting breached on the downside, and we have a leverage and we have a lot of leverage in the system, then typically these all setups don't end well. Okay, so that's where if I have to put everything across, in fact, one last indicator that we will see is the 40-day AD ratio. Okay, so if we look at the 40-day AD ratio, in once the major decline ends, that's where it goes to this extreme second line. Okay, like you see over here. I mean, in COVID was an exception, but in Ukraine Russia war, you saw it going to that second line. So right now, this first line, we are turning around from there. But if this has to translate into a medium term correction, then I would expect that the 40-day AD might even come down to 33. Okay, so that's where as I mentioned, we are at an inflection point right now. I mean, either ways it can go. ये यहाँ पे support लेके it can go up as well, and it can go down as well, but purely because there is a lot of leverage in the system. And somewhat, if we see the RMI indicator on the monthly chart, which has given us a bearish crossover, these are the things that honestly are kind of bothering me. And in fact, when you see the small cap index, I don't know if many of you all have observed this or no, but the small cap index is at a long term at the upper end of the channel. Okay, mid cap, if you see, it has broken well past this line. So some might call it as a breakout as well, which is fair enough. I mean, I can't argue that. But then the other thing, which kind of bothers me is that if I see the Nifty mid cap, and not many people would have seen this, but this is a feature in Strike, wherein valuations, okay, see, you can't look at PE because a lot of things got distorted due to the COVID. Okay, because the earnings went bust, so you saw this very big spike. But if you see the 3-year PE, so in the 3-year PE, we are trading at a -2 SD mark. Okay, which is indicating that we are somewhere in this overvalued zone. And the biggest eye opener for me was the price to book value. Okay, so price to book, if you see, and if I go on and do max, so the ratio is much above the 2008 high as well. Okay, now this, when I have to connect the dots with a lot of leverage in the system, and we are sitting at the very very important uh, you know support level. So this all things, if it get breached on the downside, then there can be some trouble that we can see. And those are my own views, and broadly, I mean, that is how I think. And see, so simply put, what I think is that when I look at the sentiment indicators, some of them are at an extreme, and they are giving me that indication that there is, I mean, especially this future by OI index, future OI by index indicator, it is telling me that there is a lot of leverage in the system, and leverage with overvaluation does not usually end well. Okay, but as I told you, I mean, this indicator went into this overbought zone in Feb only. Okay, but eventually we saw this rise as well. So you have to always take a note of it when there is a bigger breakdown that is happening, because that's where these all things will come to haunt you. Else this can continue till the point we don't get a trend reversal. So that's why, as I mentioned, and I'm repeating it once again, sentiment should always be looked at with price action. Many people raise tickets and say कि ये overbought आ गया, ये oversold आ गया, I bought it and I lost money and all those. So we have tried a lot of, I mean, we have tried on our part to educate you. We have also made videos for you to understand. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it is on those efforts. I mean, it is the efforts are on those lines that you understand how to use sentiment indicators in different type of market. Because in a bull market, you will use it in a certain way. In a bear market, you might use it in a certain way. In a sideways market, you will see the ranges getting hit up and down very often. Okay, but in bull market, you will see it at the upper end of the range for a long time. In a bear market, you will see the sentiment indicators at the lower end of the range for a long time until you don't get price action. So these are the ways that you have to understand and use the sentiment indicators accordingly. So I think with that, broadly, I've presented how to use the sentiment indicators and make and manage your portfolio and manage your risk. And one more thing, last thing that I want to highlight is that even diffusion indicator is extremely helpful in that sense, especially if you're a medium to long term investor. Okay, so you can see that the percentage of stock about 200 SMA, okay, when they come to this extreme levels of 10 or 20, that's where a, a long term bottom can occur, like you see over here in 2016, you see in COVID, you see in Ukraine Russia war. Okay, यहाँ पे we haven't still gotten there. I mean, last time we turned around from here. Uh, so yes, I mean, that's why I mentioned to you that we are at a critical juncture right now. So if the support has to break on this downside, then I would expect that this ratio might also go down somewhere over here towards the oversold zone. And when a lot of indicators like FI positioning, client plus FI positioning, then you would see that the 40-day ratio, which are all medium to long term invest indicators, when all these indicators start coming towards the second line, or around that point, that's where you will start thinking that this is my major point where probably I can put in a lot more money, because now there is a blood on the street and people are panicking. Because what we have observed is that जब market गिरता है, then सब लोग को ऐसा लगता है कि zero ही हो जाएगा, everything will fall apart and so on. But these all data point help you to react more objectively and think of it more from a data point of view more than the emotions. Okay, so that's where, honestly, I have found all these data points very useful. And this was one of the reason why we have put out on strike also, for now, for people to see and make rational decisions, and not just uh, you know go with the herd mentality in the market. Because these are all things that actually institutional people use for their decision making, okay, which we have made it live for the retail people. And in fact, to all those, I don't know, who are new to this platform, but we have priced it extremely friendly for retail. So if you go in plans and billings, the 1 month subscription charge is just 650, and you can get actually institutional grade analysis on strike, which can really help you, I think, shape up your trading and investment journey. So yeah, I think broadly those are my thoughts. We can be open to the questions if there are any. So yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions if at all you have any. So yeah, I'll wait for few minutes for people to drop in the questions if they have, and if there are no questions, then probably we'll wind up this session. Yeah, I'll see if there are any questions on strike. So no. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. Good morning, Abhishek. Thank you, Sharadji, for your kind words. So, any questions? If anyone has, how can we check option chart? Okay, so option chart. So far, Ajayji, it is not there in our system, but you will get all the. But you will get, all the data points that you would need over here. Uh, Yeah, but basically, option chart we are yet to introduce, and we will do it in due course. But so far, we don't have it. The next one is that Shushil Panda says, "Can you provide the checklist of sentiment indicators inside?" So I have already mentioned over here. These are, sort of your uh, indicators that you would want to see if you're a short-term investor. If you're a short-term trader, these are the four indicators that you might want to see. If it is a medium-term or a positional bet, then these are the indicators here that you need to see. And for long-term, DIIs, volume put call ratio, and so on. These are the indicators that you might want to see. Okay, so basically these are the checklist, and I try to combine medium term and long term to understand the medium term trend, basically, in the market, medium to long term trend. And if there is some trading bets, or or a short term outlook that we want to assess, then we look at the short term indicators like daily swing, average swing. And in fact, I must add over here call minus put histogram, which is for extreme short term. Call minus put histogram. So just to rewind it once again, this call minus put is basically, you will get it in this derivative data. Now all these indicators that I've mentioned are all in this bracket only. Okay, you will get it over here. So your call minus put histogram, as I mentioned, when it comes in red, that's where possibly market is getting a bit complacent and a correction can occur. So this, you can see it each time when it has come to this red mark, there has been some overbought. The market gets a bit oversold, so it has not worked over here. But you can see that in this decline, the call was very high. This call minus put histogram was very high, but as the market was rising higher, this was almost coming down. And around this top, where you got this minor degree correction, that's where it had gone almost to the 0 point. So over here as well, you can see it had gone to this red point where put shorting was more than call shorting, and basically in this rise the call shorters got wiped out, and then you end up seeing a correction. But as I mentioned, this indicator is specifically for very 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 short term tops and bottoms. So you can combine it with uh, uh, daily swing to gauge a short term top. So the weekly option traders might find this extremely helpful, but that's about it. I mean, you have to think of it from 1 to 2 to 3 days perspective, not more than that. um, so now Abhishek has a question that in RMI indicator, please check SBI cards on, it is reflecting sell, but it should be a new buy. RMI indicators. Sorry, I did not get this question. Rotation graph, can we check, or sector rotation? Can we check, or sector rotation? So yeah, for sector rotation, Ajay ji, I mean, we have this RRG graph. Okay, so that's where you can spot all the sector rotation that is happening. Like for example, energy and oil and gas is turning around. When you see their charts, okay, you can see that some turnaround is happening. So यहाँ पे you can get all this sector rotation thing, and that can help you to position. So if you're a short term trader, I would recommend you looking at the daily time frame. If you're a medium to long term investor, you can look at the weekly time frame. Okay, so for sector rotations, specifically, RRG will help you a lot. uh, then there is a question from Mahadev. Do you see the head and shoulders pattern developing in the Nifty 50 whose baseline is 23,800, and if the baseline breaks? So wait, let me check. What are you exactly saying? So I mean, see, many of the people I know, they are talking of, I believe even you're talking of this head and shoulders pattern, which is somewhere like this. I mean, see, honestly, the slanting ones, I be a little careful, because if I have to think of it in terms of target, then for head and shoulders, which is from the top to the neckline. Okay, if I have to judge it from the breakdown point, it will come to somewhere around 20,600 or so. So I am not sure, but one thing is for sure, that if this support line breaks on the downside, then the weakness can be meaningful. Okay, and then what I would think is that I would look for this lower end of the channel, and supposingly if the Nifty visits this lower end of the channel, and I see the sentiments at an extreme, then I would think that somewhere this downside targets or the downside levels with the Nifty wanted to achieve has come by, and you need to be careful of a reversal and not necessarily be fixated to the 20,800 level with the head and shoulders is telling. But yes, I mean, visually it looks like an head and shoulders pattern, but slanting head and shoulders pattern on the downside, I don't know. I mean, I honestly haven't had much success with that. So I would focus more on when the sentiment indicators get to an extreme on the downside, despite the targets getting achieved on the downside or no. But yes, as you mentioned, if this trend line, this support line breaks on the downside, which is at 23,000, I'll be extremely careful. One reason is that, because as we had mentioned in our trend analysis wala, webinar as well, that if the 40-week breaks on the downside, the next level on the downside opens up is 20-month average, which, if you see, the 20-month average is right now somewhere around 22,200. Okay, and that is where the lower end of the channel is coming to. So somewhere around this point I'll be careful. But yes, if the 20-month average breaks on the downside, then I mean, one can get, I mean, that is a recipe for disaster then. So I'll be extremely careful around this point, whether we are getting a reversal or no. But if the 20-month and this lower end also channel breaks on the downside, then I'll be careful, because lower end of the channel breaking on the downside means it is an acceleration of the trend, right? Like you see over here. I mean, if I draw a channel, this might be in a channel only. So when this channel breaks on the downside, then these are all very brutal signs, and I'll be even more careful then. So yeah, I mean, broadly those are my thoughts. Don't know about this slanting one, but yes, somewhere around 25,500 to 25,200 mark, where many support levels are converging. So if the 40-week breaks, then those are the kind of levels I might look on the downside. uh, Abhishek ji, I always eagerly waiting for your sessions for. Okay, thank you so much, Abhishek ji. Uh, Sharad, sir, interpretation of PCR is greater than one is bearish, bullish, but during running market increase. So, Sharad ji, one thing is that we are taking we are actually taking PCR. We are taking the average of the PCR. Okay, so yes, I mean, intraday mein it might be 0.5, ek din ke liye it might be 0.5 or 4 or something like that. But when we look at the average, okay, so average is much more smoother. So if 0.5, agar 9 days it has come, then this indicator will fall to 0.5. Okay, and if it is 0.5 sustaining for 9 days, then anyways there can be a very big correction that can happen. But based on the I mean, after smoothing, what we have found out is that 1.5 is where the upper end of the range is, and around 0.72 से लेके 0.66 is where the lower end of the range is if we smoothen it with the this thing with the average. But yes, you are right. If you see Nifty 50 index PCR, okay, so this is something that we have over here in option PCR. यहाँ पे if you remove everything and if you just plot the OI PCR, yeah. So over here, if you plot the OIPCR, yes, it goes to the range of around 0.56 as well. But these are extremely volatile. Matlab, ek din, as you can see over here, this is 0.56 in this decline, but after that also the Nifty index declined. Okay, and in this pullback it went to 1.2 and then it fell down. I mean, honestly, this there is a lot of noise if we plot the raw OIPCR, but we have found out that if we are smoothing it by the 9-day MA, it works very well in identifying the short term tops and bottoms. I hope that answers your question. For Sushil ji, when the fundamental screeners will be available, I think we have mentioned it many times, but we'll mention it once again. See, right now our plan is to get the entire system, which was at a 5-minute lag, we get it down to 1 minute. 1 minute delayed, basically 1 minute delayed snapshot. Earlier it was 5-minute delayed snapshot. So far in futures, we have successfully managed to refresh the screen every 1 minute. So we are doing module by module, and in couple of weeks time or a few weeks time, you will see the entire system going down to 1 minute delayed snapshot. Okay, once we achieve 1 minute delayed snapshot, along with we are confident that the system is now stable and not throwing any errors, that's where we'll start adding all those fundamental analysis, which I mean fundamental screener, which we have already made it. Okay, so then we'll start going live. So yeah. So Shekhar, I am a member of Strike Money. Is there any app for Strike Money? So there is this EXE app that is there. Once basically if you install it, so you will get it in your desktop. So yeah, I mean, I have this habit of using the web one only, but if you install it, so in the PC you will get this app, but there is no mobile app as such right now. Okay, no, I mean, those are not a near term plan, to be very honest. uh, Sushil ji, can you provide stock symbols for IPO performance? So yeah, Sushil ji, as I mentioned to you, I mean, in the near term, our objective is to, get the system down to 1 minute uh, delayed snapshot. Once we do this, we will definitely take all your suggestions into account. But that right now we don't want to deviate our focus from that, because that is a lot more important thing, and it requires a lot of integration and so on. So yeah, I mean that is what we are looking at. So please bear with us for a few weeks. Uh, and once we are confident of the system being stable after 1 minute delayed snapshot, we'll start adding more and more features. And I can definitely vouch for it that we'll bring lot improvements in our software as well, to make your life easy and make the navigations very easy. uh, Next question is from Mahadev Banerjee. The 23,800 level coincides with the 40-week which you mentioned. So yeah, 23,750 to 23,800 will be crucial. Yeah, right. Sushil Panda, weekly chart at present updates end of Monday. Please update. No. So I will clarify this. I mean, thanks you brought this up. I will clarify this now. See, many of the people have this doubt. Okay, many of the people have this doubt that RRG is not getting updated, okay, for weekly. But let me just confirm this, and let me just tell you that, I mean, we have purposely kept this date as the starting of the day, starting of the week. That is because that is how the trading view chart shows. Okay, I mean, we did not wanted to keep any confusions, so that's why we have basically I mean, aligned with the trading view charts. Okay, so it tells you that, see, this candle is updated till Friday. Okay, which is basically till third it has got updated. But the starting of the week was 30th January. So trading view also shows the candle as 30th week. I mean 30th December. Now the same thing we are showing it even actually over here as well. Okay, wait. This I think is, so yes, I mean, this, I don't know why this is coming like that. We'll check it. But basically, whatever weekly candles that, oh, okay, right. So because we were seeing of 5 weeks, that's why it is showing as this I mean 9th of December. But you can see over here, this is 30th December to 3rd Jan. Okay, so sorry, this was weekly. If I This was daily. If I do weekly, so this first Jan is because we have considered the starting of the week. The same thing you will see it in monthly as well. Okay, now monthly may, it tells you first Jan, doesn't mean that the data is updated till first Jan. The data is updated till third of basically it is updated till 3rd of Feb. In fact, you will notice that even till 24th of January, say for example, you will still see this date as first Jan. Okay, it doesn't mean that the data is not getting updated. Okay, please, this is one thing that we want to clarify, because we get a lot of tickets. So I hope this makes you understand the data is getting updated every day, and in fact every 5 minutes over here. Okay, just don't go by the dates that you see in weekly or monthly. Okay, in the daily, if it shows you that this is 3rd Jan, then the data is getting updated till 3rd Jan, and everything is getting updated in weekly and monthly. Okay, I hope that clarifies your question, because this is a lot of I mean, there are a lot of questions that we get from users for RRG. Okay, then how to use seasonal indicator. So Shashwat, seasonal indicators is nothing but it is basically a back test of it is basically a back test of what do we say, it is basically a back test of what has happened in the past for that particular day. For example, okay, if December 1 to December 10 you want to find out how the stocks have behaved, so what seasonality indicator does is that it will check the performance of 1 to 10, 1st December to 10 December for the years that you have mentioned. Right now we have given an option of 5 years and 10 years. It will see the performance on that particular period, and it will give you the data as to how the returns can be. So say for example, if you do a seasonal, so say okay, wait, let me present my screen and I will make you understand how does it work. So over here, if you see seasonality scanner, okay, seasonality backtest. If I tell, okay, so this I have selected as Friday, okay. Now I am telling the system that for next 30 days, show me the stocks that are bullish. Okay, right now for simplicity, I am only considering say Nifty 500 stocks. Okay, so Nifty 500 stocks, which are the ones that are going to be bullish for the next 30 days. So this all trades that you see, so trades is nothing but 5 year ka last, you will see for next 30 days how the performance has been in the past. Okay, which means that I am checking for 5th Jan to 1 month, basically for 2024, 23, 22, 21, and 2020. Okay, and based on that I am coming up with what do we say it as, what is the average gain that you can expect, what is the median return that is there, what is the maximum gain during this point of time, and which is the what is the maximum drawdown that is there. And based on that we are giving all the statistical analysis over here. Okay, because some stocks are seasonal, and that's how you can catch the stocks basically through the seasonality backtest. I hope that answers your question, Shashwat. How can I put RMI on BSC screens? So, Mohit, as we have mentioned earlier, right now our system doesn't support BSC script, but once, as I mentioned earlier, that once we get to the 1 minute delayed snapshot, that's when we'll start putting all these stuff, in our system, because we don't want to make it very heavy and break those things. And so we are going step by step right now. I mean, once this optimization gets done for 1 minute delayed in the next few weeks, then we'll start putting indicators, we'll start putting BSC script, we'll start working on alerts and notification. So these are all things that are there in our time, in I mean, we will keep adding as in when we are done with this near term priority thing. So have a little patience with us, and as I mentioned, we'll make sure that we'll make this a very robust system in the coming weeks and months. So commodities, we don't have it right now, Mohit. The focus is more on equities right now. When will the sector valuation module will launch? um, Again, I mean, I can't commit to the timeline, because first we need to get our system down to 1 minute delayed. Post that, as I mentioned, we will keep updating new features in the coming weeks and months. Can I see RRG on 2 to 3 time frames at the same time? Mohit, yes, you can see if you are doing it in web browser. Okay, which means that, so I mean, this is one of the reason why we have built it in web browser, so that it helps you to understand. I mean, it helps you to make more tabs. So over here, say for example, this is weekly RRG. I will do. So see, one is daily, one is, I will make it a weekly RRG. The second one, okay. So here by all tab, this is how you can do multi time frames if you want, but it is not possible to get it in one screen, because the screen will compress a lot and it will not give a good look. But this is the way out. Basically, you open two tabs and you make it all tab, and you understand where is it. Like for example, if I want to see reality over here, I have clicked it, and I want to see reality over here, I have clicked it, and I will see where they are positioned in daily and weekly. Okay, so this is how you can open multi time frame. by opening different browsers. Okay. Mahesh Chan, please reduce the prices as the market like. So Mahesh ji, I don't know. I mean, how much more cheaper you might need, but please consider that we have taken into account a lot of things over here, uh, and I don't know. I mean, we feel that there is a lot more value that we are giving because sentiment indicators, no one has plotted it the way we do it, and I think honestly, I think that this is much undervalued. I mean, but we understand that we are making it as a retail product, so we have priced it accordingly, which does not pinch you a lot. Sushilji, many sectors presently are not available. So yes, Sushilji, we will do that once we are done with the optimization in the dashboard. We'll bring it like NSC categorization, like NSC sectors, NSC thematic sectors, then NSC that strategy index like momentum 50 and all those things. We will put those things. We'll definitely put those things in the coming weeks and months. Mohitji, as I mentioned, commodities is not there in our software. Nisarg, our system does not support mobile app or mobile browser at this point of time, and that is honestly not in our near term horizon to do. Maybe at the mobile level, the mobile web version, we might do it. In maybe in few months time, but app is not frankly in our horizon right now. So yes, I think I think all the questions have been answered. So yes, thanks a lot for joining us today. I hope sorry, there is one question for weekly RRG. No. Sushilji, as I mentioned, the starting date we are putting is as the week starting date. It doesn't mean that it has not got updated on Wednesday or Thursday. Okay, please understand this part. For example, let me share my screen. So, say for example, if you are doing a monthly RRG, okay, and you can see that the month start is 1st Jan. Okay, so today, so the latest data is as per the 3rd of Jan. Okay, it shows 1st Jan because that is the start of the month, and that is what the trading view chart also shows when you hover the candle, which is 1st Jan. Okay, so please don't get misguided that RRG is not getting updated on the weekly. It does get updated, and if you want, you can note what is the value over here. Like say for example, this for the monthly, for Nifty consumer, this is the value, right? You check what is happening after 10 days. Okay, because it needs a bit of a movement for these values to change. So say you can monitor the same thing on say 15th of Jan. Here the date will still show it as 1st Jan, but you will see this value changing. That is because we are updating it on every 5-minute basis. Okay, so please don't get misguided that we are not updating the weekly RRG. It is getting updated. um, but the only thing is that the date that we are showing here is based on the trading view charts, so that we don't confuse the people, like because they will say that यहाँ पे first दिख रहा है but यहाँ पे third दिख रहा है, तो what is it, right? So we don't want to confuse that, and for that matter, we have aligned it with the starting day of the week or the month. Okay, can you explain how to use OI as support and resistance for intraday? Mahesh ji, we have we have made a detailed video on this. I mean, I cannot explain you in 5 minutes. There is this strike OI insights that we have made over here, which can help you in intraday for to find intraday supports and resistance. Please go through this video. It will help you to understand this in greater more detail, but I can't explain you in 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Sorry, I mean we will possibly do a webinar on this. You can attend at that point of time. We have already honestly done a lot of webinars. If you go to Strike and if you put, Strike OI Insights webinar, you will get a lot of this webinars over here. Please go through this. That will help you to understand how to think about basically the Strike OI inside screen, and how can you spot short term support and resistance level. Only briefly what I can show you is that in Strike OI insights, based on the open interest, okay, where the highest or the lowest, I mean highest open interest is in call and put, we have made those interpretation. Like for example, if we want to find the stocks which are near support, okay, near support means these are the stocks which are coming to the highest put open interest OI. Okay, so that's why we call it as near support level. Okay, the ones, if they are coming near the highest call resistance level, then we term it as near resistance. If they are breaking above the highest call OI, okay, so say for example IGL is 434, but the highest call was at 400, and that is getting broken on the upside, so we term it as above resistance. Okay, and if some stocks have broken below their put base or the put highest open interest, we call it as below support. Okay, so these are the categories that we have made, through which you can scan the stocks very easily based on the open interest. For further more insights, please watch this webinar, or go to the help section and watch this 15-minute video. It will help you understand how to think about these screens. So yes, I think with that we have completed today's webinar. So again, thanks a lot for joining. I hope this adds value to your time, and thanks for being there. And stay tuned for more webinars that we frequently do on Strike. Just one thing, I want to say that just I mean, if you don't want to miss the updates what we do on Strike, then please just follow us on. So yeah, just follow us on Twitter. We put a lot of insights on Twitter. So if you go to Strike IC, okay, we give a lot of insights based on our observations, and in fact a lot of features have also been highlighted. Just for example, the swing that we had mentioned today about it. So we had written about it. So basically, what we try and do is that we share our observations, so that can help you learn it even faster and make you understand how do we think about how y'all can think about those crossovers or high valuation, or how to manage your trades and so on. You might definitely get some insights over here. So you can follow Strike_IC. Also on YouTube, we have a channel of Strike_IC. Okay, so this is basically for the English one, Strike Money. You can subscribe there. Strike Money Hindi is also the new YouTube channel that we have created for the guys who are looking for the Hindi content, or the explanation in Hindi. We do live sessions during the market for 2 weeks. 2 days in a week. You can find those everything over here, and I hope you find it helpful. And lastly, as I mentioned, for the people who want to subscribe, they can go to plans and billings and they can subscribe over here. If you are facing any issue, go to help. Raise a ticket is a section. Whatever issues that you are facing, you drop it over here and we will reply you back, or we'll get back to you, and someone from our team will call you and assist you. So yes, with that, thanks a lot for your time, and see you next time. Thank you.